Whoa. Hi guys, how's it going?
Hey guys, nice to see you. Happy New Year 2024.
It's hello from Bob.
And it's hello from my other half, Ramon. Hey.
We're here.
Big thanks first. Big thanks. You pushed us over 1,000 subscribers just before New Year's Eve. Thank you so much. And hopefully we can keep building. But that's really up to us delivering something you want to watch and you wanting to watch whatever we chuck out.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Thank you.
Right.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Padre.
This is the first one for the new year, isn't it?
It's the first one for the new year, and hopefully many more.
Yes. And what better time to be displaying these two beautiful guitars that we have?
Indeed. Okay.
Today.
We thought we've gone into a very early year. It's weather's going cold, or it's a very black mood. So we thought, why not lift it with some black guitars? Whoa! And we've got three here. We're holding two of them.
Yep.
You've got my 56 Duojet.
56, and you've got a 56 Les Paul Custom.
Absolutely. This belongs to our friend nearby, Tony Berrington. He picked this up quite recently at an auction.
Very nice guy.
He
Very nice man.
He did very well. He bought very keenly.
Yeah.
Good value, and this is a cracking guitar. So 56 Les Pauls, P90 in the bridge, staple pickup near the neck. This staple pickup is fantastic.
You kind of just want to play it on the neck pickup all the time, don't you?
You do. You completely do. And earlier on, Ramon was playing a bit of full-on jazz on it, and it was sounding flying. It was fantastic. Because these, that's what these were built for. That's what they were all playing in those days.
Yeah, because Les Paul had the custom, the fancy one.
Yeah.
And then he gave his wife the cheap one.
He gave her the cheapy gold top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was a mean player as well.
She was a brilliant player.
She could really tear it up.
Absolutely.
They divorced in the end.
They did.
I wonder, if she got like half the guitars.
Do you know I somehow doubt that?
Yeah.
Mind you, he was famous for sawing everything up. So Gibson gave him a brand new one of these, gleaming, shiny black. He got the chainsaw out to it and started routing it for different pickups and gouging it for a microphone.
Yeah.
Through the neck. I mean, so all his guitars were butchered.
But I think the one Les Paul, he kind of he had the prototype, and then he didn't want to give it up. He kind of continued playing it because he did all these little mods on it,
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about the story about Bob, this staple pickup is these are magnetic, aren't they?
The pole pieces are magnetic, unlike a P90 where the magnet is a bar that runs across the bottom and basically activates the pole pieces.
And these are also magnetic.
And Strat slugs are magnetic as well.
But this apparently was, no, I don't know if I got this right, but from what I remember, Les Paul's favourite pickup was a Dynasonic. So what he actually did in the beginning is he had one of these in the neck position and he put a black plastic cover over it, so it looked like a P90, it looked like a Gibson pickup, but it was actually one of these, Dynasonic. Yeah. So a lot of those recordings, he's using this Dynasonic in these Les Paul
So a lot of the guys back in the day liked them, and I mean I said this on the show before, but the other thing from the late 60s, early 70s, Jan Ackerman, the guitarist in Focus. Yes. Amazing band. Okay, they went a little bit. Well, apart from the yodeling, and they went a bit palm court later in life, but they, incredible guitar player.
Oh yeah.
And he had a black Les Paul custom, probably from the late 60s, I guess. But it always looked a bit weird. The photographs in those days were never that good, and I couldn't work out what was in the neck pickup until recently. I discovered he had a Filtertron. The other Gretsch pickup in the neck. I thought originally it was a Dynasonic. Yeah. But actually it was a Filtertron. But he sounded, his Les Paul custom sounded fantastic, but not quite right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah?
Actually,
It sounded amazing.
I don't want to name drop, but I once supported him in Holland.
Did you?
Yeah, I did support my band. When I was very young, it must have been about 2004, 2005. And he was. I mean, I remember because we were playing kind of blues stuff, and he was just going. He goes, yeah, well, running all these scales, just like perfect.
Yeah.
His command of the fretboard. But his command was amazing. He could really just.
Absolutely, and he had some fantastic tricks on the first album. They did this song called House of the King, which was used for a TV series, and it's a flute song. Yeah. But there's an amazing guitar solo in the middle. It's a completely different piece of music. It's a fantastic guitar solo with lots of kind of typical rock, phrases and stuff, but beautifully executed. But at the end of it, he kind of does this sort of slides down the top string and then goes donk.
Yeah. No, he's
just brilliantly.
I saw him warming up. We were chatting before the show, and I hadn't really known much about him, but just seeing him, he's such a clean. His technique was amazing. Yeah. And he's a full-on jazz.
Well, I mean, all his subsequent records, you know, the next intervening 30, 40 years, the jazz records.
Yeah, so he's a full-on jazz.
Actually, he also, for the geeks amongst you, he put his name to a Framus guitar.
Did he really?
Framus Jan Ackerman, which was kind of like a Les Paul, but like a giant had sat on it, and so it got slightly bigger and slightly flatter, and it had this kind of like a pointer switch, pickup switch.
Yeah.
And it was basically a kind of European Les Paul.
Well, this is where we come to this one.
It was made with jazz in mind.
Because what you're talking about is something you pretty much described this, haven't you?
Well, I have in a way. Let's put the Gibbo away for a minute,
because this is Bob's Les Paul Custom. This one.
So the reason I got this out is partly because it's black. This is mine. I've had it for many years. It's a 1986 Guild Nightbird GG. GG stands for George Groon, because George Groon, the famous Nashville dealer, was the creative director of Guild guitars for about a few years, 2, 3, 4 years.
Was that when Fender owned them?
Oh,
or were they at because they're Westerly, wasn't it? Westerly.
God, I don't know what the time scale is. Maybe I'll put a super on this and I'll just research it and put it on. It could have been after Fender bought it, or it could have been just before. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But the reason I got this out is this is essentially my black Les Paul Custom, because I haven't got a real Les Paul Custom. I don't get on well with most of the ones I play, because most of the ones I play have not been refretted, so they've got the fretless wonder frets. And
so let's explain, guys, because if you haven't played an original Les Paul Custom like this, what you tend to find, guys, is the frets are fat, but they're very low.
Very low. They were the original frets. They were called the fretless wonders, and they were on the Les Paul Custom. They were later on the SG Custom, the white ones. They were also on Firebird 7s in the early days. And they were designed for jazz players. And you know, jazzers like a ridiculously low action.
And you don't bend.
But they don't bend.
Yeah.
Heavy strings, low action, no bending. And that's what they were designed for. And you know, if you're that kind of player, a fretless wonder is a fretless wonder.
Yeah.
But for any of us, bend up. You try bending up on a fretless wonder, there's no fret to push against.
Absolutely.
It's really difficult.
So it'd be interesting to know what gauge strings Les Paul used.
Yeah, they would have been heavy.
Because if he's coming from jazz, you think 12, 13.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, in those days, 12,
flat rounds.
12, 13, 14 were common top strings, and 14 top string. I mean, that's you've got to be a weightlifter to play that.
So yeah. I mean, there's so.
But anyway, but that's Les Paul. So I never got on with Les Paul Customs, and I've got enough nice guitars to cover the Les Paul bass. Thank you very much. But at the same time, years ago when I was playing in a covers band, we used to rehearse in the studio. The engineer had one of these guitars. I was always trying to buy it off him because I borrowed it one night. It was fantastic, and I couldn't find one. And then some years later, a mate phoned me up and found one in Loot magazine, which, for those of you who are old enough, was a classified newspaper that used to do what you guys now think the internet does.
It was great.
It used to buy and sell things. And anyway, it turns out this guy had one, went around to see him, didn't even negotiate. He was asking a sensible price. He clearly didn't want to sell it. I didn't want to make his life miserable. I just bought it. So I've had this for a long time, about 30 years, 25, 26 years. It's in fantastic condition, and these are brilliant guitars. And strangely, right, you've got a 1956 Duojet, which is quite unusual here, a 1956 Les Paul. This is rarer. There's only about 150 of these.
Yeah.
And they were made in all sorts of colours.
Our good friend Tim Pells has got one, hasn't he? He's got a couple.
He's got, well, the thing about Nightbirds is there were 3 generations that came immediately after each other. I think he's got a Nightbird 2.
Yeah.
Which came next, and then there was another one called something else.
Mm-hmm. They had different pickups, didn't they?
Yeah, originally the first few of these had Seymours, passive. These are EMGs, but they sound on this guitar, they don't sound at all modern.
Right.
They
have a battery?
They have a battery inside in the back plate.
Right.
The back plate, private joke, it's tortoiseshell, it's not black, it's transparent, you can see through it. The guard is, for what it's worth, doesn't really guard very much, but this thing is 7-ply bound brown tortoiseshell, and it's slightly bigger than the Les Paul, very slightly bigger, with the snake head Guild headstock.
So George Gruen actually was active in designing it.
Yeah, very. And he designed some acoustics for them as well.
Right.
I think he may have had a hand in a couple of dreadnoughts.
He's dead now, isn't he? Is he dead?
Don't think so.
He's not.
No.
I mean, clever guy for designing that. It's a really lovely guitar.
Well, this is a guy who was around instruments for a long time, and basically, so many had passed through his hands. He had a pretty strong feeling as to what worked and what didn't.
Did his markers stay the same across the three models?
No. These are particular, I think, just to the Nightbird GG, which was the first.
Right.
But this used to come. So this one's in black, obviously. Certainly cherry sunburst, blonde natural. I've seen an amber yellow one. Dark green, Clapton and Buddy Guy both had dark green ones. Right. A purple one with
Eric Clapton had one.
Yeah, and he sold it at the auction to fund Crossroads a few years back. It's in the catalogue. Again, I can put a quick pull of that catalogue page up because I've got that catalogue here. Buddy Guy had one. That might have been the same guitar. They might have traded it between them. I don't know. There was a purple one.
No,
not really blue purple, slightly wine purple, reddish.
Yeah.
With, I think I remember they were cream EMGs. So for a guitar they only made like 150 of. I mean the numbers go up to 180, so I'm guessing about 150 or so. There were an awful lot of colours made. So and there's a blue one. So the chances are some of them are.
I mean, I prefer these to a PRS.
I certainly do.
I prefer all the PRSs I played. Sort of left me. I used to own a PRS,
and I still do.
You still own yours?
Never play it.
Yeah.
And can't sell it. It's worth money.
Yeah.
But there's no one out there buying. Yeah.
Too many of them.
Funnily enough, it's a good comparison because this is an 86 guitar. My PRS is 88.
Yeah.
So it's a modern guitar.
Yeah.
It's got a thin neck and it's got fast action, decent sized frets. So you're comparing like with like.
Right.
But this thing has got character.
It's got more of the vintage vibe to it, hasn't it?
Absolutely, terrific guitar. Nice Grover tuners from stock, which I love. Just a tone and a volume. Three-way pickup selector.
Coil tap.
Yeah. Now this is the funny one. It's got a coil tap on the neck pickup.
Yeah.
So when you combine them, you get a clanky sound, and it's also got. Sorry, that's. I forget. Right, you've got a push pull here and a switch, and one of them is phase, and the other one's coil tap.
Wow.
I never touch them because all they do, the reason people put coil taps on humbucker guitars is so they can sort of do a cod Fender at a gig.
Yeah.
They always sound crap.
Right.
Split humbuckers sound crap.
They do, yeah.
So this is a humbucker guitar for me. I don't use this jiggery pokery at all. But it's a great guitar. Anyway, enough about the Guild.
Dickie Betts and the Allman Brothers.
Indeed, great song. I've forgotten that.
Dickie Betts sang that.
Did he?
I always thought it was Greg Allman.
Okay.
But Dickie Betts, great guitar player.
Fantastic guitar player. And great, also great vocal. He had quite a nasal voice, a bit James Taylory, but it worked.
Yeah. And his solos were so melodic.
Funny, you've reminded me because I thought it was an Eagles song because it sounds so Eaglesy.
It does, yeah. We started with an Eagles song, Tequila Sunrise.
We did.
And so I don't know if you noticed, it's all about country today.
It is all about country.
Yeah. And
we've chosen the wrong month of the year to start the country. Country for me is all about kind of, sunshine and driving around and countryside and stuff. And we're all holed up in the freezing cold. And nothing better to do than play guitar.
Wow, absolutely. So, let's coming back to this custom then.
Yeah.
How would you compare this to a gold top or even a burst, because this was the custom. This was like the top model.
Yeah, top of the range. Yeah.
Whereas the Les Paul was the standard, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so the range was at the bottom junior, then special, 2 pickups, both slab bodies. Then you went to it was just called the Les Paul model in those days, but it's what we call a standard.
Right.
Right, and then above that was the custom, and that was all the the gold bling, the fretless wondered neck, all the piano black, and all the rest of it. This was the expensive guitar, but the Sunburst was the one that appealed to everybody and got all the limelight.
Yes,
in the blues arena. But there are significant differences. Like for example, the most Sunbursts, all Sunbursts and most gold tops have got a maple cap.
Right.
On a mahogany body, and that gives the guitar a little more brightness because they could tend to be a bit dark. This is solid mahogany.
Solid mahogany. Always.
So the strange thing was, it was a more expensive guitar, but it was much easier to manufacture because you weren't putting 2 bits of wood together. You were only milling 1 slab of wood.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, there you go. So it's a solid mahogany. Mahogany neck, much the same as a standard. Obviously, but this one's covered in black lacquer, which has got a bit of wear. We think that the guy who played this before might have been a classically trained player because there's wear on the underneath of the neck.
Or had arthritis in his thumb.
Or arthritis in his thumb. No, always half empty. Anyway, but normally your thumb would come around the top and do all that kind of stuff. But if you're a classical player, they always put their thumb really almost, the discipline is almost horizontally along the neck. And the finger, the marking here, suggests that the guy played it much more like that than like that. There you go.
Yeah, some people have weird techniques, don't they?
But this guitar's lived. I mean, it's got finish checking all over it and stuff. And when Tony got it, there were a few bits that he needed to, replace with original parts. I mean, I'm talking screws, not pickups and not screws. He had to put the tuners on because it was equipped with shallows, which are perfectly good machine heads. But for me, as a child of the 70s. I never really liked shallow tuners very much then, compared to these plastic, Clusons, or compared to Grovers.
Yeah.
And I've got some guitars with shallows, and I'm not complaining. They're tuned perfectly, but they're just a bit boring and mechanical to me.
Yeah, and it just finishes off the look. If you look at the headstock, it's just a beautiful design. That headstock is just so.
Tell you what, let's do it a favour and take the tuner off it. There you go. That's the full
and obviously you'd see the same headstock on a Super 400.
Yep, that's right. The split diamond. This was top of the range again. Yeah. They were signalling this is the top of the range guitar. Yeah. And it's a fantastic guitar to play. So given it's not mine, it's not quite set up the way I set it up. I'd probably take the action down a little bit because I'm so lazy. But this, I mean, you'll like this because the strings on this are slightly heavier. I think they're 11s.
Oh right, okay, yeah, that's my set.
Which is your set.
Yeah,
little bit butch for me. But having said that, you can play it pretty quick. It's pretty good.
The thing with me though is when you talk about gauges, when you're playing live and the adrenaline's going, it's a different experience than when you're playing at home. So the string gauges, you don't even think about it when you're playing.
I discovered that when I first got my Firebird 1. Yeah. The Firebird 1, it's a junior, so it's a little bit harder to play. So I thought I'll just go down to 9.5 and see how it was. And I took it out to play a gig, and I was sliding all over the shop because the adrenaline was flowing.
Exactly, and if you ever go on a tour, you can imagine if you're on a 10-day tour. Day 1 you might be struggling. Day 10 you're all over it. You're saying,
oh my God, I've got to go up to 12s.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Your fingers by the 10th gig, your fingers are going to be so strong, because when you're practicing at home, you don't realise this, but when you're practicing at home, you're only playing like 30%, 40%.
Absolutely.
But when you're on stage, it's 100%.
Absolutely, you're completely focused. Part exuberation and exhilaration. Part terror.
Exactly, because your brain, when you're at home, you're thinking, oh, what a beautiful guitar I'm playing. Look at this knob
but your brain's running at 25%.
And you're thinking, look at this knob here, and you're playing it. Oh, you might be looking at yourself in the mirror, looking at this nice guitar. But when you're live, that all goes out the window. Because it's about the music and the performance. It's a totally different,
And what my good friend Andy always calls combat conditions, which is a great phrase, because that's what it is when you're out there. I mean, you have much more experience with this than I do, but when you're out there, however well you prepare, You prepare for anything to go wrong.
Something's always going to go wrong.
It's going to go wrong. I mean, so that gig you did last summer, when your guitar went out of tune.
Oh yeah.
I rushed on the back of the stage, got your tuner,
yeah,
got the guitar, right? Well, I can tune a guitar. No, not when the tuner's screwed, you can't. So I'm sitting there with all this racket going on. I can't hear it if I stick my head up to it. And I'm tuning it. I thought I'd tuned it to this thing. I gave it back to him. It was blur. It was just,
and the funny thing is that somebody uploaded 2 videos. And the one song they uploaded was when you gave me the guitar.
Oh, shit.
They could have chosen any other song, but they chose that. So it's on YouTube.
And anyway, so that's what we'll go right. What happened is eventually he had to plug into the bass player's tuner, which is a sodding great Korg rack tuner sitting on his amp, where you could see everything from 20 yards away. Yeah. And that was fine. So you got out of jail in 30 seconds, but it was horrific.
Yeah, it was a hard.
This is what happens.
You got to prepare for everything, you know. But. You know, look, today I'm plugged in this guitar through, what year is this?
58.
58.
Fender Tweed Champ, 1 knob.
And 1 knob, so if I want distortion, I literally just turn the guitar up. And that's it.
To be fair, just to say that this amp doesn't have reverb, so he's got a little reverb pedal. A rather clever pedal I've got here called a Mojo Hand FX Park Theatre. A friend of mine who I was teaching some stuff to very kindly sent it to me about 1.5 years ago, out of the blue, fantastic. It's got delay and reverb in a simple 3-knob pedal. It takes a little bit of balancing, but it's really small.
Yes.
I won't pick it up, but it's a small pedal. It's really, really useful. Yeah. And that's just going in the front of this amp. But this amp is famous because this is either identical to or very, very similar to the amp that, the 2 amps that Eric Clapton and Duane Allman recorded later. And so on. Yeah, quite. Yeah, that was a bit impromptu, not rehearsed, but anyway, they recorded that whole iconic album
on 2 of these.
Which I have to say, I mean, they're braver men than me because I've had it for a long time. I bought this one off a guy some of you may have heard of, a guy called Terry Foster, who is the world's leading collector of Fender ephemera. By ephemera, I mean all the paperwork, right? All the merchandise like books of matches, clocks and silk scarves for window displays, stands, all that stuff, which is called ephemera. So all the bits around the
and Bob is very effeminate.
Ephemera and effeminate difference.
Oh, right, okay.
God, you can tell English is his second language, can't you? Oh, anyway. Right.
I'm joking.
Terry has got an amazing collection. He's decided to collect 1 guitar and have a perfect, complete run. So he's done it with Duosonics, right? So student level 2 pickup guitar.
Oh, Duosonics.
It's
Duojet.
Fender Duosonic, which there isn't much of a collector market.
My bad.
He's got the most immaculate collection. He's got an immaculate collection of Tweed amps, including...
This guy sounds like he's got OCD.
Oh, he does. We all do.
Yeah, we all do.
We all do.
We have to.
He's got an amazing collection of Tweed amps, including, and here's the scary bit, he's got several 50s Tweed amps in their boxes.
Oh my God.
No, the boxes have never been opened.
So he hasn't opened it?
They're unbroken factory seals. I mean, that is seriously geeky.
But this one obviously he opened up. Right?
Yeah. So he had about 6 or 8 of these when he lived in England, and he was just lightening the load when he was going back to the States.
Right.
So he sold me this one.
And this is a beautiful, and I mean, I just love the sound of it. I mean, just like you can, it's got a really nice acoustic. And it's not a small sound. I thought it's going to be a Tweed sound, but it's not, is it?
And I think it's an 8-inch speaker. It's about 4 watts. It's like 1 power tube, 6 V6.
Yeah.
Right. A single knob that is the on-off switch and the volume control. That's your lot. And a couple of inputs which are slightly different gain.
Right.
And a fuse and a little red jewel bulb.
Yeah.
That's it. It weighs about £2. But it's very interesting to see how it comes out in this video, actually, because we're recording this again on phones. We haven't got the mics set up, so we're not doing a posh job. But in the room, it sounds, it's quite full, but it sounds quite boxy.
It's a small boxy sound.
Boxy sound.
But it's not like, you know, it's not a disaster, is it?
No.
It's nice.
No.
You know?
And what it sounds really good is if you play, I mean, you know, any 2 amps together sound amazing, right?
Yeah.
Well, this little chat is no different. You can play this with another little amp, or you can play it, for example, with the Lazy J next to it. Turn the Lazy J down so it doesn't drown it.
Yeah.
And everything starts to sing, you know.
Yeah.
So nice little amp. I mean, these days, we were talking earlier to Tony when he left this guitar around here for us, and he was saying, you know, how well he got on with a regular modern vanilla Blues Junior, or was it a Pro Junior? Blues Junior.
Blues Junior. Yeah.
Blues Junior. Right, which is one of the generic amps of today.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, when we went up to do the Axis, sorry, not the Axis, the Exile burst, I did a recording, and I was seeing all these amps, and I thought, I hope I could get to play an AC30, but the truth be told, the Blues Junior was the best amp to record with.
Well,
simple
don't say that, because, loyal viewers, we are going back up there. Hopefully, we might even do it in January if we can find a date. We're going back because a number of you said, what about all the lovely amps behind you? You had those great guitars, but amps? So we're going back to do an amp special, and we're going to have to really be on good behaviour that day, because I think we should take some really, really normal guitars, really modest guitars. Yeah. So the guitars aren't the stars of the show.
No.
And there's no, oh, well, look at you, you're playing a £10,000, £20,000. No. We'll take something cheap, ordinary, and we'll just put those amps through the paces.
And Navian, one of your new purchases.
Well, I mean, you know, that £240 Squire Cabronita, which I'm playing a lot, and it is just.
And you got about 5,000 views, didn't you, in your review?
Actually, that was the gold, the Paranormal Strat.
Okay.
Something really resonated with you guys out there. It got a hell of a lot of views. And it wasn't the playing. But it got a hell of a lot of views.
Modest guy.
Yeah, and you know that too. I mean, I bought those 2 guitars for about the pair of them cost me about £500.
Wow,
which is it's £500, but it's not a lot of money.
Quite. I mean, basically, Bob and Milan shows a lot of the time about vintage guitars, but it is nice to do some stuff on cheaper guitars sometimes. You know?
I think so. I think the other thing is, you know, you clearly, I mean, you know us well enough now to know we're not selling anything here. None of this stuff is being given. I mean, yes, I borrowed this off a friend, but I'm not selling it.
And we don't do any advertising, do we?
We don't. I really am not. No advertising. But
we don't do any advertising.
And so we tell it like it is. And occasionally we'll sit down and say, look, this guitar, it may have cost £200, but it's absolutely brilliant. Or we might say, look, this guitar retails for £6,000 or £7,000, and I can't tell you it's a dog, but I can tell you it's just boring.
Yeah, and no names mentioned.
No names mentioned.
PRS.
But it's just. The other thing is, you know, you've heard me rant on about, you know, if you've got a fixed amount of money to spend the big money on the amp.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I know that the amp is a black box and it's boring and sits behind you in the corner, and the guitar can have pink flame maple and, you know, gold parts and all the rest of it, but wrong.
And find a good amp tech as well.
Hard.
If you don't know about the amp, try and find somebody that can fix it, because that's another thing. Amps people get, you know, with amps, I think you've got to get a good amp. Right. Once you've got a good amp, learn to use the amp. Learn how it works, learn the EQ.
But also, pick up a bargain, because the other thing is that, you know, amps can quite often go wrong, and there aren't many amp techs around. And
you need to find a good amp.
And working with valve amps is something of a lost art, and it's quite dangerous. The voltages inside are quite hefty. Even in this little chat, there'll be 400 volts going on.
So anyway, back to
Tales of Life rather than Death. The life of
I wish I had a Tommy Cooper joke now, but I don't.
Just like that.
He was great, wasn't he, Tommy Cooper?
You've reminded me. One thing we were promising to do to each other years ago on this show is do a show with fezzes.
Yeah, we'll have to.
Right, we've done it to camera now. We've got to do it. We're going to do a show with fezzes.
My ex-wife was Moroccan.
Well, can you get us a couple of authentic fezzes then?
Yeah, well, she's not actually speaking to me anymore.
I'm
not speaking. Well, we're not speaking to each other, but.
Okay.
But Yeah, I know where I can get some feathers. Yeah.
Now, while we're here, quick shout out because I need a bit of help.
Yeah.
You won't be able to see on this video, but the nut on this guitar, the very corner that anchors in the 6th string on this has just chipped off. So I need to put a new nut on my 1956 Gretsch Duojet. Now I've got an idea. I think Tony Berrington, actually, who owns this guitar, could help me because he's a great tech. And it's just a piece of bone you could dirty up a bit. But if anybody out there has got any better ideas
of how to fix this, let me just show you. Let's go.
There you go. It's just that end, that corner there has just chipped off. If anyone's got any good ideas, in the comments, please.
Yeah. Help this man out.
Help this
help
man
him.
out.
Help him.
Do I look like a man who needs helping out? Privileged? No.
You know, I help him enough, guys.
Oh.
You know what I mean.
So a bit of grovelling doesn't hurt, does it? But anyway, so it needs a little bit of time to care. I mean, the string holds in fine. You could even gig it, I think, but it's just cosmetically, it's.
Yeah, so it's really great to try these 3 black guitars. We really needed the tux, but Bob unfortunately didn't organise it. He was late with the laundry. I particularly love this guitar. This is there's a really good band which we'll put a link in the description, and I'll tell you who they are. And there's the guitar player plays this kind of you know those Art Nouveau sort of films where they're like a detective in the 50s.
Very atmospheric.
Yeah, and
if not ambient, but atmospheric.
Yeah,
probably lots of tremolo, lots of twang.
That kind of vibe. And
of course, you have to give us the famous, major, minor, 9th chord.
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
The spooky chord.
But he does all of his work on one of these guitars.
I can see why.
Yeah, through a car amp. He has a car amplifier, and I'll shoot you a link because he's got a fantastic. He's a New York based. Does local gigs in New York.
Okay.
So if any of our listeners are from New York, go and see this guy.
Sounds like the kind of guy whose gig you walk into in a kind of dark, slightly smoky downstairs club, and you see David Lynch sitting in the corner.
I mean, this guy does soundtracks for films.
Before we go, we ought to start the year by just asking you guys if there's anything you might want to see on this show, okay? Because we've got ideas. You might have some ideas that we can't fulfil, because believe it or not, we don't have access to every single, posh vintage instrument. Apart from the impossible, if there's anything you particularly like to see in the way of guitars, amps, effects, pedals, stuff like that, anything you'd like to see more of, anything that you might like to see less of, who knows? But seriously, you're using the comments fantastically. We're really enjoying them, but use them and let us know, and we can try and
we're here for you, basically.
Taylor,
we are here for your.
No, we're here for ourselves. We're here for ourselves.
No.
We're here for ourselves, but they indulge us.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah,
it's your fault, guys. Know what you've.
If you've got any ideas and you'd like to see them materialise, throw them at us and we'll have a pop. We'll have a go.
And this is actually the best YouTube channel, apart from Doug and Pat's. We're the Doug and Pat of England, because they're the Doug and Pat of America, obviously.
Okay.
No, they're still going. They released a video like 1 week ago.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, they're fantastic.
But the one channel I do watch, if they ever release a video, is Doug and Pat.
Yeah. See, they have this great advantage. I mean, like my friends who now own Carter vintage guitars in the States, I get their weekly email of what their stock is. And they get more amazing vintage stock in a week than this country sees in a year.
Yes.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I was blathering last time about that gold Firebird 1 they had. I mean, this is pure pornography to me, just unbelievable. And
it is. I mean,
every week there'll be at least one guitar, and you go, "Well, that doesn't exist," or "That must be the only one of those." It's unbelievable. So Doug and Pat at least live in the right country. By the way, the other show I love it so much I find it hard to watch, is Live at Daryl's house.
Yes.
Right? Because Live at Daryl's house, you've got Daryl Hall, who's a bit good, with all his friends,
I do like that.
Cognoscenti, fantastic musicians, all Daryl's friends, incredible musicians. They bring all their own stuff, all the rest of it. But then what do after they play and they have such a ball playing, which is great? What do? They go in the kitchen and they cook. And it's like, I can't watch the show because that is how I want my life to be. if you haven't watched live at Daniel's house, and if you want a reco, look at the one where Robert Fripp comes along. It's absolutely fantastic. You would think that Robert Fripp and Daryl Hall have got nothing in common. Wrong, because they worked on some albums together in the 70s and 80s, right? And they play something from Robert Fripp's Exposure album, and he and his band, Daryl and his band, absolutely nail it, and it's really difficult. And then they play Heroes, which of course Fripp contributed all those fantastic
David Bowie
guitars, David Bowie. And it is, oh God, it's great telly.
Is it Daryl Hall?
Daryl Hall and Jono.
Jono. So Daryl Hall has taken out an injunction.
They fell out, didn't they?
Yeah, he's got he's banned from contacting. You know, like when you have a like you're in a relationship and someone you get banned. He's done that to because I think we had a big falling out over money, royalties. Because they're right.
Is that going to happen on the Bob and Ramon show?
Could
watch this space. I'm really hoping not. Frankly, it's a good mate.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting on okay now. As long as we don't.
But it's only 10 days into January.
Yeah, I mean, but Bob and I, we avoid politics.
Actually, when the camera's off, we really go hammer and tongs with politics, and it gets very fruity.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, so that's something we avoid on the camera.
Yeah. But for now, we'll leave you with that tantalising thought. Do get in touch. We'll be back very soon. Maybe even the next time we're back, it could even be travelling north to go to Amps.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Hey,
absolutely.
It's goodbye from
your old friend, Ramon.
And it's goodbye from your old friend, Bob. See you guys.
Take care. Bye.